Perfume bottles are stinky, and not in a good, lethal way.
Oh my god, bro.
We all remember the state of perfumes when Shadow of the Erdtree was released, and in case you don't remember, it was a little something like this. Perfume Bottles, which is a weapon class that was introduced in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, were regarded as pocket nukes, capable of giving Mr. Oppenheimer a run for his money, thanks to the rolling sparks ash of war, only applicable in scented products. This phenomenon was performed by aiming the explosive poopy clouds at your feet, and the results were pretty nasty.
Coincidence? I think not!
Sadly, Miyazaki and company decided to power nerf this weapon class into oblivion and change the way that rolling sparks worked, because having fun is for goobers. Am I right?
Yes.
But the grieving period didn't last for too long, because soon after, a funny little interaction was discovered between the bottled toots and the Eclipse Shotel. If you used Death Flare in conjunction with deadly poison spray, you were able to proc Death Blight within your fart cloud range, making it one of the best nuke traps out there. Not everything was poops and giggles though, because if you weren't careful, you were most likely to end up being molested by Godwin's rooty fingers as well. Even if this was countered by the Redditor-hated task of simply walking away, FromSoft decided that making our own perfumes was off limits and decided to fix this interaction, leaving the only perfume bottle main on Earth in complete shambles. Because aside from those two bugs, or features depending on your point of view, the perfume bottle class is hot liquid diarrhea. It's no secret that perfume bottles are the last thing that comes to mind when you think of an object used to flip the life switch off of an individual. And this is because I think these little colourful anal beads were carefully designed to stink.
Hilarious and original.
If you're a bit confused after hearing that last sentence, let me explain in detail. Everything about the perfume bottles sucks. Even flails, which is one of the worst weapon classes in the game, have a few things going on for them. They can't be parried and have decent poise damage. Regarding perfume bottles, their moveset consists of a series of unnecessarily slow and flamboyant swings, followed by a slow advancing elemental spark that detonates after a short delay, as you can see in this scientific representation with geometrical balls.
Balls!
The sparks have two phases. The first one, represented by the tiny balls, is the pre-detonation phase, and the second one, represented by the big bloated balls, is the busting phase. To put it in simple terms, enemy gets hit, enemy goes boom, because I mean, just look at that hitbox. Surely it must do something, right?
No.
The logical thing to assume would be that the closer you are to your target, the more your opponent will inhale the might of your scented balls, right? Well, if you think this is the case, I'm happy to tell you that you're not only wrong, you're also a dummy for assuming that Miyazaki has any grasp on common sense. The damage you deal depends only on the first ball that hits your target, and the only thing you'll accomplish by using this at point-blank range is forcing a losing trade on any opponent who can be smart enough to swing the stick they got in their hand at you upon entering your personal space. And yes, I'm 1000% sure that you're going to lose every trade, since the only damage that this godforsaken weapon class is capable of dealing is emotional, and only towards yourself.
Popeye's chicken sandwich.
You may want to play devil's advocate and say that the proper use of this weapon is to employ it as a defensive and zoning tool, and that would have been a nice point to make. However, contrary to real life, a cloud of foul smell won't ever be able to physically stop anybody from getting close to you and kicking you in the fucking gonads. This is because, to perfume weapons, the concept of staggering something and being even slightly fucking useful is as alien as the concept of showering is to a Souls player. To put you into perspective, perfumes have slightly better stagger than your bare hands, which is only 22 poise damage. But they are worse than a fucking staff bonk, which is about 54 poise damage. I don't think I have to mention how hyper armor and poise damage are incredibly important. not only in the ancient arts of making other gamers swallow their teeth, but also to combat Miyazaki's bastard childs in the PvE. Not being able to stagger even a mosquito passing by doesn't really constitute for what you could call a useful weapon. But maybe we're being too negative on these tiny little dookies. Maybe their status effects counterparts are worth something, right?
I'm ruined. I have nothing left except
Status effects.
There are only 3 perfumes capable of inflicting status effects. These ones being the Cozy Winter Bottle, the Moulding Perfume Bottle, and the Bottled Farts. After all we've discussed by now, you may think that these excel at inflicting their own respective status effects due to their area of effect nature and the fact that they need to severely compensate for their lack of, well, everything. But no. If you remember our little science experiment with balls, the same damage principle applies towards status effects build-up. This means that if you spray someone right in the face with your load, the status build-up will be a grand total of 60 to 100, since it only counts a single hit from the whole barrage of sparks, which is pretty garbage to say the least.
But hold on, what about using these ashes of war? These can hit multiple times over a large area.
That is actually correct. However, there are some problems with them, because of course there are. With Wall of Sparks, you can hide yourself behind your foul smells with the same grace as a skank creating a large explosion of redditor aromas around yourself after a short delay. The problem is that the detonation takes too long to be used effectively in a real combat situation, not to mention the piss-low damage that this skill has. But the secret trick here is that if you hold that greasy L2 button a little longer,
I'm tired, boss.
you can delay the explosions even further, giving your enemies extra time to walk away and point at you while laughing. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that Wall of Sparks is a built-in move for every Perfume Bottles charged heavy attack. They just made the Ash of War version in case you also want it to occupy a skill slot and cost mana, and in the remote chance you manage to land it, it still sucks balls. As for rolling sparks, the problem lies in how the sparks behave if you decide to launch them in front of you or at your feet. When launched in front of you, the sparks cannot be sprayed by free aiming and they are locked in a straight line. The gimmick here is that each explosion is a unique hit, so you may be tempted to put your 52 IQ to use and launch the sparks at the ground in the same spot to get a multi-hit bomber, right? Well, of course not. It was previously patched. Remember, the first explosion of the chain will eat the rest of the sparks, leaving you with nothing but an explosion of disappointment and bad body odor.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
And trying to land it as it was intended will only make you look like a clown while the enemy casually strolls through it. But what if we think outside the box and use something viable like Storm? You can't even land a heavy attack as follow-up since your character is busy making a handsome Squidward impression. Colossal swords can though.
My back!
Let that sink in for a minute.
Know your fucking place, trash!
And probably the worst thing about perfume bottles, yes, it gets even stinkier, is the fact most of them have really bizarre stat requirements and attribute scalings. The only one that has any semblance of normality are the fire perfume bottles, boasting a B scaling on dexterity. But the rest of the bottles require ridiculous stat investment to at least be able to deal their highest damage possible, which is still pretty fucking garbage. Why would anyone ever pick any of these things over a clean rot nightsword for PvP or a dark moon greatsword for PvE? There's absolutely zero incentive to use them. They don't excel at absolutely anything, and any other weapon type can get the job done better and more efficiently, except for poisoning yourself perhaps. So if unaliving yourself in-game is something you're actively seeking, the deadly poison bottle gets a pass. As for the rest of the points, long-range zoning, whips can do that perfectly and with more poise damage. Inflicting madness, the moulding hand does it better and in one hit. and it also has a cool combo afterwards. Frostbite, chilling mist on any weapon, and freezing pots do it instantly. What I do think is that Elden Ring's dev company has the balanced team of all time, and Perfume's bottles are a weapon class that definitely doesn't exist in their eyes, since there wasn't a single positive change towards them since they got introduced in the DLC, not to mention that the consumable version is 10 times more threatening. So to summarise, the Perfume bottles are perhaps the worst weapon type ever conceived in Soul's history. And to the mouth breather at FromSoft who came up with these bootleg Pucka Ravan wannabe weapon class, please never cook again. Sorry, I got a little carried away. I was only reading the prompter. I'm not really that upset. The blue lady is a bit unavailable at the moment, so I got placed in charge at the last minute. I sincerely hope I didn't screw it up. Anyway, mystery thingy. Our last mystery thingy was the Shadow Sunflower Blossom. Big congrats to the little spinal cords who answered correctly. Here's our new mystery thingy for today, which you can answer in the comments below. If you liked my performance, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Make sure to wash your teeth before bed, and I'll see you next time, little demon titanites. Bye!